interested, what it's for,
hmm
that sort of thing. So do you want to start by kind of like introducing yourself?
Yeah, just before we start, is this the master's or the PhD or both?
Which one are you in
So
either?
I did the master's and I'm in the PhD program.
Okay, so if you want to talk about both, that would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Okay,
All right, so you can start about just introducing yourself, if you
sure.
don't mind.
Okay, I'm Logan. I am in the biotechnology PhD program at the moment, but I did the biomedical science program, my undergrad at UAB. I finished that, I think. Like December 2021. And then I rolled into the biotechnology master's, and that's a 1 year program. So I did that program. And then shortly after graduating that, I started the biotech PhD program, which I'm in now. I'm in my third year, so I'm officially a PhD candidate. And my target graduation will be this summer for my PhD in biotechnology.
Great. Well, congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I guess our first question would just kind of be, can you describe your experience as a student in UAB's biotech program? So just kind of
Yeah.
what does the program consist of? What does it look like for
Mhm.
you?
Yeah. So I actually originally started BMD because I was on the pre-med track at UAB.
Right.
But I was a student athlete, so I didn't have really enough time to do all the shadowing required or like the MCAT prep that I should have been doing.
Yeah,
So actually, Dr. Wright, I don't know if he's still teaching in BMD. Um,
I think so. That name sounds
yeah.
really familiar.
Well, Dr. Wright, who was BMD faculty at the time, he actually recommended that I do the biotech masters because it's only 1 year, like I said, and most programs are 2 years for your masters. And a lot of people kind of use the biotech program as a stepping stone to professional school. So it can be like a quick GPA booster or just kind of give you something to do while you're working on your MCAT or you're trying to get your shadowing hours. So that was actually why I joined the program. But biotech in general, it's the business of science. So we take science classes, we have lab, we're like on the bench, but they teach you to really look at your research through a commercialization lens. So how can this research be applied to an actual patient at the bedside? So it just kind of gives you like a unique experience. And again, I joined biotech without really knowing what biotech was. It was just kind of like a stepping stone for me. And then once I learned about biotech, I kind of gave up the med school thing. I was like, this sounds way better. So I've kind of stuck around. But yeah, the master's, it's just 1 year and it's a really good experience. Like I said, we have science, but we also have almost like an MBA style course because biotech, the business side of biotech is so different than any business because, most startups that are commercializing either like a pharmaceutical or medical device, they don't have any revenue. They need a lot of money, but they don't make a lot of money, right? And so a lot of pharmaceutical products or medical devices fail and never see the patients. And most of the time, they teach us that it's typically a failure in business rather than a failure in the science. And so when I kind of learned that and that this program was going to teach me to kind of be maybe a person in Birmingham that can help make sure that all the research and innovation that's at UAB can actually, get to the patient, get to the bedside, is what really drew me to the program and kept me in the program.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Alyssa, do you want to go ahead with?
Yes. I was just gonna ask like how the skills that you've gained through the biotech program prepared you for like your next step after graduation.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm in the PhD, which is obviously more intense than the master's program. But the project that I'm working on now for my dissertation research will eventually become a startup where we will be commercializing the technology that I'm working on now. So they kind of gave me my first job, which is really cool. And I'm hate to make the same point, but just like the marriage of business and science is really what we focus on in the biotech program. And UAB is fantastic at creating scientists, physicians. I mean, that's what we're known for is, really we have that strong science and the strong like physician or scientist training programs. But the biotech program has really prepared us to have the same prestigious scientific background that UAB is known for providing in students, but also that kind of business acumen, commercialization lens. So, in any setting that you work in, even if you want to stay within academia, it can still be a really important skill to kind of like view your research through that commercialization lens. But even more so, a lot of people don't want to work in academia. They want to move into the industry. And kind of having that biotech spin on your training kind of shows on your resume that not only did you go to UAB and you have the strong scientific foundation that UAB is known for, but you also kind of have that different lens or perspective on how your research can actually shape a patient's life at the end of the project.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to kind of build on that, this is
Mhm.
kind of similar. How has this program shaped your career trajectory? Has there been any major realizations or changes as to be
Mhm.
expected being a student?
Yeah, like I said, when I came into biotech, I was pre-med all the way. I wanted to be actually at the bedside. But then, you know, it's not totally true, but when you're a physician, you're kind of only impacting that one patient that you're sitting in front of at that time. Whereas when I learned that biotech was working on innovations that will affect billions of people, maybe provide treatment options for a population that there is none at all, and there's just no hope for maybe those patients with those indications. Kind of understanding that this career path, I could even have a greater impact on a greater number of patients, was really the main driver for me, kind of flipping from maybe like the physician POV to this pharmaceutical commercialization pathway.
Yeah,
Love
sounds great.
that. Yeah. This is just more of a little interesting question.
Sure.
What's like one of the most like challenging projects that you've had to work on?
Okay. So I feel like the obvious answer is my dissertation. So I work on nanopore technology, which it's a membrane protein that has been commercialized at UAB for DNA sequencing. But the PI that I met with was kind of like, there's a million other things you can do with this technology, but I don't know which one is going to be commercially viable because, like I mentioned, he kind of has these dreams of actually commercializing his stuff that he does in his lab at UAB. And so my whole dissertation has been kind of deciding which route that technology is going to go, which is obviously like super intimidating.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think even solving that problem, the biotech masters in general kind of really set me up. I went straight to the customer, right? So I started with physicians, interviewing physicians at UAB and even different patient populations. So I think that's probably been my biggest challenge is working on my dissertation.
I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of want to go down the PhD path, and I'm not
Sure.
really sure what program
Mhm.
yet. So that's what this class has been really, really helpful. And then this whole program, like as a whole week, had a speaker come today and talk about the biotech program. I was like, wait,
Cool.
like this is kind of what I want to do. I haven't really narrowed down
Hmm.
anything from the list. It's kind of stressful, but it's a work in progress. So
Hmm.
it's been very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
I have a word of advice on that if you want it.
yes, please.
Okay. And this is only really specifically to the biotech program, deciding if you want to go that route or not. Is and I know it's easier said than done, but you really want to think about like your end goal, like your career goal, what happens after your
Mhm.
PhD, because if you want to stay in academia, the blood life of your career in academia is how many papers can you publish and how many like grants can you get, right? Well, the PhD program is a fast track program, so they want us out in 3 years, which I think the average PhD at UAB is like 5 to 7 years. So it's a lot quicker. And that's because our paper submissions, they we don't have to have quite as many as typically like a regular PhD will put out before they graduate. And that's because a lot of the intellectual property that we work with is sensitive because it's all stuff with commercial applicability. So you have to be careful with like the patents and like
Right.
when you publish. So if you want to be someone in academia, like you want to write grants and publish papers and you want to work like in a lab at UAB, I would not recommend the biotech program probably because you're not going to have as many papers literally just because of the abbreviated time.
Okay.
But if you want to work in academia, I would go a different route where maybe your PhD takes longer, but when you get out, you're going to have a lot more papers, which when you put that on your CV and you apply for a postdoc or another academic position, that's what they look at is how many papers you have. And biotech will not get you a lot of papers, probably.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that definitely kind of helps out a lot because I do want to eventually work in a lab.
Yeah.
So that is noted. Thank you. And that kind of all leads into this next question,
Hmm.
which is what advice would you give to a new student who wants to use this program to build their career path?
The biotech program.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like I said, and you kind of figure it out as you go through it, but for me, it's been really important to understand like my end goal. So, like, I really don't want to work in a lab and
Right.
I don't want to do bench science. And I'm doing the program because I understand to be a part of the business side, I have to be able to speak the language, like interact with
Yes.
other PhDs, PIs. But I know that I want to be the person in the boardroom and not on the bench. And
Mhm.
so I've made it like there's kind of faculty, all the faculty have training on both, but there's more like the business sided faculty and then like your scientific faculty in biotech. Whereas like I've made it a point to have really good relationships with the people that are more plugged into the business side. And I've made like a lot of my networking around people that do the business side of biotech while I'm like achieving, the master's or the PhD for my actual resume.
Mhm.
Just like have a really good idea of what you want life to look like after, and then try to like steer your education towards one of the realms because you're gonna have a pretty base knowledge level of both when you get out, but you kind of need to decide which side you really want to be a part of, and then try to like guide yourself that way throughout the program.
Would you say networking is a big like part of the biotech program and or at least like in trying to shape your career afterwards?
I think that it's super important. It's
Right.
not necessarily required, of course.
Right.
But you get involved with a lot of people, and like if you just like name drop the biotech program, people are really willing to meet with you because there's a big push in Birmingham in general to kind of become like a biotech hub. And one of like the main goals of all the biotech people in Birmingham is what they call training the workforce, right? The more biotech companies we start out of here and the more that we recruit to Birmingham, they need employees. And so I've found at least that the community is really willing to meet with you if you're in the program. So it may give you a leg up on networking, but I don't know if it's necessarily integrated into the curriculum.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks. That answered my question. Um, Alyssa, did you have
Do you have like any tips on networking? Like, were there any certain things that you like felt you made better networks and like
Yeah,
connections with
yeah.
people?
I'm like a LinkedIn monster. Like I live on LinkedIn and I
yes.
I like cold connect with like anyone that I can. If you're like approaching people like a cold email, cold LinkedIn, trying to get a meeting, it typically works for you to kind of I don't know how to say this. Like, suck up to them maybe a little.
Okay.
Like, make it very clear that you don't want anything from them, but it's like, hey, I'm exploring, especially within the Birmingham realm. People that are in biotech are really passionate about expanding biotech in Birmingham. So if you just say, hey, I'm interested in what's going on in Birmingham, how you play a role, what is Birmingham missing? Like, I just want to reach out and learn from you. You typically get like a better response. And of course, you're trying to get a job. They're not
Right.
dumb. But but if you are just like kissing up and like just acting really interested in the ecosystem as a whole, most people are really willing to meet with you. And then I always end every networking meeting with like can you give me three other people? I'm just trying to build my network. And then from there, it just kind of keeps branching out. My last networking is like if you go to a true networking event, everyone's there to network and it's always awkward. If you see anyone by themselves, like it's the easiest way just to walk up and shake a hand and you just never know who you're going to meet. So you kind of just got to get over yourself. Um, but yeah, I think those are my networking tips.
That helps a lot. I got an email today. I went to the grad school fair. Again, just to kind of see like
Mhm.
what all UAB offers because there's a lot of options and they're all kind of different and I need to start thinking about what I need to do.
Yeah.
So I sent out an email last week about undergrad lab opportunities and then
Mhm.
got their contact information today. So I've got to send those emails out. So that helps a lot because
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out like what exactly I need to say
hmm
without being like on my hands and knees, please let me
I
help.
know.
Right.
Because I'm
Yeah.
sure they get so many emails
hmm hmm
because obviously like, everybody around here is really involved. And
Also,
I'm trying to
don't
get
sell
involved.
yourself short. Don't sell yourself short because you got like they get a lot of candidates, but I mean I'm like on the hiring side now in my lab, and you don't get as many quality candidates if you think as you think. So if you're a quality candidate, you have a pretty good
That
shot.
helps.
Yeah.
Okay, well that makes me feel a little bit better because
Yeah.
I just couldn't help but think I'm scrolling through the list of everybody. I'm like, if they're not looking for researchers because they already have a bunch. I'm like, I don't know what to do because I need
Yeah.
hours.
It's
But that
also
makes me
like
feel a lot better.
the faculty is obligated like in their contracts that they have to teach. Like that's part of their like responsibility at UAB
Right.
or whatever. So they have to have like X amount of students in their lab. So sometimes you're doing them a
Okay.
favor just filling a student spot too.
Okay. Well, that's great. That makes me feel so
Yeah.
much better. I have to
Yeah.
send those emails actually after this interview.
Hmm.
And I guess all of that to ask our last question, which is what are some personal skills that you feel like you've gained from the biotech program? It can be
Hmm.
like personality characteristics,
Yeah.
career skills, anything of that sort.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess I keep saying the same thing, but it's just so true.
No,
Like
I understand.
like the ability to kind of be a breed of both. Like I didn't really I kind of I guess I've had more like a natural business acumen. Just like that's a lot easier to do than like
Right.
understand science just naturally. But I really feel like I've gotten a great scientific background and I was kind of nervous going in like is my PhD not going to mean as much as other PhDs?
Right.
Because it kind of has that like it's not necessarily as intense as people like that do a lot of the other GBS ones. But I think really just learning how to speak both languages, like the language of business and the language of science, and mostly communicating with both sides of the fence because they're very different. They literally speak different languages, and then you'll find that their temperaments are a lot different.
Right.
So I think when I graduate, I will definitely be someone that can kind of translate between the two parties, and I think that's going to be an invaluable skill when I get in the field.
That definitely seems like something that would stand out on a resume, somebody
Mhm.
that can do both versus somebody specifically training one or the other.
Yeah.
I think that's all of the questions I have, unless
Okay.
Alyssa, do you have